At Dawn here again. For today's video, I had to go back to Star Wars because yesterday we got some news, and it seems that every month we're getting a different excuse from Disney and Lucasfilm in terms of what happened with The Last Jedi and what caused the backlash with the fan base. So this article comes to us from Screen Rant. It's written by Alex Ledbeater, and it's titled The Last Jedi's Trailers Created the Star Wars Backlash. So it's no longer Russian bots like it was in October. It's now The Last Jedi's trailers creating the problem. So we've got some nice pics here. We've got Mary Poppins, Princess Leia waking up. We've got the Rose Finn kiss, ugh. We've got BB-8 and Canto Bite. We've got Jake Skywalker and Full Galore. We've got the stupidest Sith villain ever if they really are Sith. We got a little bit of Rey in the background. And we have a slave. We've got the slave child. Gotta get the slave child in there. That's on like the richest planet in the universe. Mueller did a great job in his videos regarding The Last Jedi. And one thing he hit bang on was that richest planet in the universe would not use slaves just because they're mean. They'd pay for the most fashionable and trendy, most expensive droids they could get their hands on because they would want luxury items and not have to worry about dealing with human resources. Anyways, on to the article. Did Star Wars The Last Jedi... Oh, and there's Luke right in the middle from just before he breaks the film and throws the lightsaber over his shoulder. Okay, on to the article. Did Star Wars The Last Jedi's trailer and marketing help create the movie's backlash? The Star Wars fan divide has never been bigger, and it's mostly blamed on the release and surrounding decisions Lucasfilm made with Episode 8. But could Disney have released the exact same movie to a much more accepting audience if only they'd marketed better? No. No. I didn't think the trailers were that bad leading up. I was kind of still excited. They didn't show enough. They hit a lot of it, just like they did in The Force Awakens. We never really got to see a lot. I think we got the great battle scene, and we got some of the fighting in space. I think we might have got Princess Leia and Kylo Ren talking to one another, possibly touching one another through the Force just before he blows the bridge up. Well, he doesn't blow the bridge up. He fails at doing it. He eases up, and one of his fellow TIE fighters take out the bridge. But no, I don't think that's true at all. I don't know where they get the delusions, Laser Brain. I'm sure that's going to come up here somewhere because Screen Rant is a pretty junk level news establishment. But that's completely wrong. Like, I don't think the trailers had anything to do with the backlash. Like I said, I was still pretty excited before the movie came out. I didn't see it because I waited, because I had hesitations after The Force Awakens. I thought The Force Awakens was pretty mediocre. Lukewarm. It was good on initial viewing. I was excited, and then I started to think about it and started to break it down in my mind a little bit more, and yeah, I saw problems. So I waited until what the feedback was from the real fans, not from the shills, and it wasn't good. So to be honest with you, I waited until I got it out from the library, until my library got the Blu-ray, and that was only a couple weeks ago, like at the beginning of October. That when I got it out of the library. I didn't have to wait very long, though. Usually there's a hold list, and I did not have to wait very long for The Last Jedi. Usually you wait 3 to 4 weeks for new releases, not The Last Jedi. Anyways, on with the article. Rian Johnson's entry in the Skywalker saga upended many of the open-ended questions established by J.J. Abrams in Star Wars The Force Awakens. You say? You think? Upended? Subverting expectations. Revealing Luke was a cut-off hermit, Rey's parents were nobodies, the Knights of Ren a side note. That's the worst part. That, of anything, like, the Luke Skywalker thing drives me bonkers, but he's an older character, and I knew they were going to eventually kill him. He's from the last generation. They want to make a new generation of heroes and villains. But I guess they're not really heroes and villains at all in these movies. They're kind of a gray area where they share the same, like, the same nether region. But the Knights of Ren was the biggest missed opportunity ever. That was the most exciting part out of The Force Awakens, seeing the Knights of Ren. And then they were just gone. There wasn't even a mention of them in The Last Jedi. And let's see what it goes on. And making former leads Poe and Finn into supporting failures. Exactly. Like, Poe and Finn's characters got rebooted. Like, I actually liked Poe and Finn in the first movie. And out of the second movie, out of The Last Jedi, Finn is probably the strongest character. And Poe was right behind him. The strongest written character that make the most sense. But they still felt rebooted. And yeah, they got pushed into supporting roles, really. Throw in shock deaths for Snoke and Luke. You build Snoke up to be the greatest baddie in the universe, and you kill him the stupidest way. Like, he wouldn't know Kylo was moving the lightsaber? Like, come on. Like, he wouldn't know. Anybody would be able to see that through the Force. Any good Sith or Jedi or whatever these things are in these movies, if they're not Sith and Jedi, any good Force user would recognize the tremble in the Force, the tremor. Anyways, and the Luke death, already touched on it. It was pathetic that they had him do the Force Ghost thing, the apparition where he showed up on Creighton, battled, and he got sliced by Kylo, and it somehow transmuted and went across the universe. I thought I was watching Star Trek Discovery from the first episode of the second season, I think it was, or first season. I don't know. I'm getting my garbage tier sci-fi mixed up, but they had played up to that earlier when Kylo and Rey were talking, and Kylo got a drop of water on his glove. You saw the drop of water, so you kind of got the aforementioned the foreshadow that it possibly could be a thing, and it definitely was, because I think that's how we were supposed to think Luke died, even though it wasn't explained very well. But that little drop of water on Kylo's glove coming across the galaxies was enough to tell you that you can transmute matter over distance. Who knows? Leia's, like right here, Leia's using the Force to fly through space, a heavy leaning into Bathos, and a prequel-esque jaunt into Canto Bight. This was nothing like the prequels. Nothing like the prequels at all. Are they referring to the scenes from Attack of the Clones when they're chasing the bounty hunter through the bars, through Coruscant? Because I don't think this felt like the prequels at all. Prequels were feeling all of their own, but they were way more loyal to the original movies than these two movies have been. Way more loyal. Yeah, I don't think at all. Canto Bight didn't feel anything like Star Wars. I don't know what movie you were watching, because everything to do with Canto Bight is something that you wouldn't find in Star Wars. You name it. And again, to go back to Mahler's videos, just watch his videos. And I know I'm pumping up another guy, but he's really good, and he knows what he's talking about. Like the Canto Bight scenes, if you really break it down, it makes no sense, and there's so many plot conveniences there. Like, you wouldn't find that in the prequels. I don't know what this guy's talking about. Again, I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain. But anyways, and you have one seriously broken fandom. Yeah, you do. But many of these problems are less to do with the movie itself and more expectations. The Last Jedi doesn't directly contradict anything in The Force Awakens. Luke is already a nomad, and Maz indicates Rey's parents aren't actually important. Yeah, what? Again, you're defending it. You are defending it in this article. Because Luke left a map in The Force Awakens. It's established that, yes, he went off the border. He went way off the grid. But he also left a map with R2-D2 on where to find him if you ever needed him. Now, why would a hermit that wants to shut himself off from the world leave a map? That doesn't make sense. And Maz Kanata, her character is so irrelevant, it's not even funny. Where did you get this lightsaber? That's a good story. For another time. Can you say vague? Come on, that is a J.J. Abrams invention. That is the mystery box in action. Maz Kanata is the mystery box in action. So her saying that the parents aren't important doesn't matter. What she was trying to say is you can find strength in yourself at that time, which was a good message coming out of The Force Awakens. Not that her parents were irrelevant. Ryan just did that because he wanted to troll people. The guy's the biggest troll in the world. Rian Johnson is the biggest troll in the world. There are several times in that movie, when watching that movie, that's all I felt. That we're just seriously, genuinely being trolled. Anyways, and all of its story choices and plot twists are logical when viewing the Star Wars sequel trilogy as the story of supreme villain Kylo Ren and its second entry and deconstruction of the whole franchise through the prism of failure. So Kylo Ren went from this menacing, homicidal figure to somebody who wanted to better the universe by evening the odds for everyone involved. Killed his father, killed a bunch of other innocent people in The Force Awakens, established that he's the big baddie. He's unstable, like the scene where he's like breaking up the communications room. That was the worst part of The Force Awakens, by the way. I feel that also broke Kylo Ren's character in a way. But anyways, we're getting on long here with the article. Enough ranting. On with the article. So simply put, so much of Star Wars The Last Jedi's backlash seems to come from it not lining up with what had been speculated off the back of Abrams' reboot, that it was actually criticism of Episode 8 as a film. And while there's an argument that Rian Johnson shouldn't have been so aggressive in his bid to subvert those expectations, it's also true that some of these aspects would have landed better with the proper establishment. Essentially, the trailers missold the movie. No, that's not true. Like, you can't, like, he broke the Star Wars universe. If you wanted to subvert expectations, that's fine. But he ended up making Spaceballs too. Again, in this article, you are defending Rian Johnson and the choices he has made. He made Spaceballs Part 2. That's what he did. Like, you can subvert expectations once in a while and you can do it well. Check Thanos in Infinity War. That's how you subvert expectations, how that turned out. But not how Rian Johnson did it. He was trolling us from the start to finish, and he was too focused on making practical effects of milk bleeding boobies, blue milk feeding bleeding sea monsters, than to focus on the story being told. It was too vague. Like, the one good scene was Rey with the mirrors. And again, it was so vague. It was so vague. It missed the mark in so many ways. Anyways. In recent years, we've seen advertising become... Okay, here we go. More blaming. Here we go. Making other reasons to support his... I chose a wonderful article. In recent years, we've seen advertising become a bigger part of a movie's narrative. Trailers giving up too much of the plot or spectacle reflects bad on movies, and missold tone leads to threats of lawsuits. See Drive presented as a Fast and Furious ripoff. It was a Fast and the Furious ripoff, so what? Which has seen a rise in spoiler phobia and secrecy. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Because that hasn't changed at all in 2008. It was the same way the last couple years. I go to see a trailer and I see the entire movie in the trailer. You see all the important parts. There is no spoiler phobia and secrecy at all. Again, your argument is not sound. You have no base. Unfortunately, in 2017, it went too far. Box office bomb, Blade Runner 2049, preached only to converted fans of the original cult classic. And that's what it should do. It should open more to a general audience, but it should hit... It's got to hit its target demographic first and then branch off. It can't be the reverse. Star Wars The Last Jedi, yes, I agree. Blade Runner 2049, from what I've heard, I still haven't seen it. It was for the hardcore fannies. Like, the hardcore fans, that's exactly what that was for entirely. And I agree. To a point, that's wrong. You need to branch out a bit so you can hit some of the general audience and build up that box office number. But Star Wars The Last Jedi was on the other end of the spectrum. Like, it was so far removed from focusing on the original fan base. It says it right in it. Kylo Ren's line, kill the past and let it die. Or let the past die, or whatever the exact quote is. You know what I'm talking about. The people who are not fans of The Last Jedi know exactly what I'm talking about. And Star Wars The Last Jedi failed to prep its already guaranteed audience for what was to come. Yeah, you changed the entire thing. Anyways, here we go. Oh, he goes on to say, here's Rey in the throne room, in no real danger because she never really faces adversity at all, never really faces challenges, and never really feel like she's in danger, and does everything with the ease of like she's snoring half asleep. And the same emotion on her face, like the lifting rock scene. How The Last Jedi was marketed and why was it wrong? Why it was wrong. Star Wars 8's marketing technically started in February 2016, less than 2 months after The Force Awakens released, with a production announcement video showing Daisy Ridley and Mark Hamill picking up where they left off. However, things really didn't kick off until a year later with The Last Jedi title reveal in January 2017. The first teaser released at Star Wars Celebration in April. A behind-the-scenes reel at D23 in July, a Force Friday merchandise launch in September, final trailer and ticket sales in October, and then the usual blitz of tie-ins and TV spots leading up to the December release. All in all, it was a pretty standard rollout for one of the big movies of the year. Indeed, it basically mirrored the approach for Star Wars The Force Awakens, except that it had an earlier teaser in November the previous year to announce the entire saga's return under Disney a decade ago. After a decade away. Alright, and then let's see what else. I'm getting really tired of listening to this guy's excuses. This is a long article. Alright, continuing on. Scheduling wasn't the only thing The Last Jedi borrowed from The Force Awakens, however. J.J. Abrams' Star Wars 7 had been made under an era of extreme secrecy, with the director employing his classic mystery box, there you go, storytelling, to keep as much of what was in store a secret. Who was Rey? Kylo Ren? Where was Luke? All these secrets and many, many more were maintained from casting through to release, with the movie resolving some and leaving others as dangling questions. It was a move that worked on many levels and made the prospect of more Star Wars unpredictable exciting, brought focus onto the new story, and helped build hype for the trilogy to come. Now, I'm going to touch on the mystery box thing, and I'm going to call it out as the BS it is, because anybody who invested their time into the TV show Lost, are you with me? Lost, the same formula. And the new Star Wars, the same formula. The mystery box is only good for so far, because eventually you're going to see the content, and if the content inside isn't the greatest, then you're going to be like, what the hell? I didn't order this. Like, I didn't want this. This is not what I was expecting. And that's not subverting expectations. That's just extreme disappointment. And then to add subverting expectations on top of the lukewarm stories that we got in Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. And that's where your backlash lies. Like, think of it logically for once. Stop making excuses. Step back. Take a perspective away from the think box. From the group think box. And the fact that you work for Screen Rant, and I know it's your job, and I'm giving you a hard time. It is your job to do this. But think of it logically. The mystery box is only good if the contents inside are just as good. And the storytelling sucked. Everything sucked in terms of the two movies. Well, they didn't suck. That's being a little overly negative. Lukewarm, I think, puts it best. Like, they were tepid. They were both very tepid movies in terms of what's in the material at the meat of the bone, in terms of the plot and the character arcs. But then you add in all the subverting expectations and all the trolling Rian Johnson did on the fan base, and you mix that into it, and then that's where your backlash is coming. It doesn't take long to figure that out once you look at it. Once you look at it as an A equals B or A plus B equals C, that sort of thing. Once you look at it at that sort of angle and that sort of formula, then it becomes pretty clear. It becomes very apparent very quickly. Let's see. To go on with it, The Last Jedi followed a similar level of secrecy. From the very start, the identity of the Jedi in the title, and whether it was singular or plural, was the topic of much debate. That director and stars kept up for months, and the trailer aimed to obfuscate just about everything. All you really know about the film, based on its two primary trailers that played in the cinema, is the following. It picks up straight after The Force Awakens. Rey trains in the Force. Yeah, sort of. Thank you. A glimpse of honesty from Screen Rant. Yeah, she sort of trained. Like 2 seconds. There was a third lesson in the Blu-ray, in the extended edition, in the deleted scenes. It's probably the best of the 3 lessons she gets, and they cut it for more Canto Bite. They cut, if you watch the Blu-ray and you watch the extended edition with the parts that were cut out, it just causes more Star Wars rage for hardcore old school fans of the series, because they cut out so much stuff that would have added value to the movie just so we could get Canto Bite. He had to get Canto Bite into the running time because that was his baby. And the Reylo romance. So that's what we had to get in there, rather than stuff that would actually piece together the original characters. But we already know from The Force Awakens and from The Last Jedi, the OT characters were completely devalued. They were just there They were stepping stones. They were used as stepping stones, and I expect Lando Calrissian to get the same exact treatment in Episode 9. Anyone who thinks differently, you better sit tight, unless JJ's really up for winning the fan base back. All right, Luke wants the Jedi to end for an unclear reason. There's at least one space battle where Kylo may contemplate killing Leia. There is a Salt Planet battle. Salt Planet. Finn fights Phasma again. Like, why was Finn's character retconned to finish with confronting Phasma again? Like, we already had it once. Why are we getting it again? Snoke captures Rey. Rey and Kylo Ren may consider teaming up, but there was a questionable trailer editing. Porgs that exist. Who cares? Like, who cares about Porgs? And yeah, we saw them in the trailer because they had to add in some cute things. They had to add in some interest. And that's it. More could be gleaned by TV spots and tie-in material, but even then, anything approaching the big questions left by The Force Awakens are refuting of baked-in fan theories, half-baked or baked in. Half-baked or baked in. Fan theories that were flat-out wrong was in short supply. And this was a problem, yes. The Last Jedi's secretive marketing protected from anyone and almost all spoilers. From any and almost all spoilers. But it also didn't establish what the movie itself was going to be. There was none of Luke's personality, none of Rey and Kylo Ren's growing relationship, none of the comedy. Audience had simply no idea what Star Wars The Last Jedi was. Rey and Kylo didn't have a growing relationship in The Force Awakens. Did you even watch The Force Awakens? There was no growing relationship. She couldn't stand him. They fought each other. Finn almost died trying to save her, and she eventually beat Kylo Ren on her first try without any Force training. And he's supposed to be the big bad guy of the series. But now I'm ranting again. Anyways, on with the article. The Last Jedi's marketing sold a Force Awakens sequel, not The Last Jedi. Yeah, we should have got a sequel to The Force Awakens, not The Last Jedi, because think of the OT and these two movies that we've gotten so far from Disney. I'm not talking about the extended ones like Rogue One, which was pretty good. It's the best of the new ones. And don't get me started on that Solo thing. I'm eventually going to do the trailer. That one, I didn't even bother getting it from my library. I waited until I had a trip coming up. And on the plane, I brought headphones. And that's where I saw Solo for the first time. I actually watched it twice, so I had a pretty good grasp of the movie. I watched it on the way back. But I waited specifically until I got on a plane. And I wouldn't even pay for the headphones. So I didn't have to pay a cent to that movie, watch Solo. But anyways, we want, like I was going to my point, look back at the original trilogy. The transition from Star Wars, which was supposed to be a standalone movie, it was never supposed to have a sequel, to Empire Strikes Back. And the progress we had in the characters in Empire Strikes Back. Yes, it was a different movie, but it was the same characters. Some of the characters in these movies, Jake Skywalker, are not the same characters. It's a completely different film, and yes, A New Hope, or what they would like to call it nowadays, the original Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back are two different movies, but the same characters progressed and grew through each three of those movies. The Last Jedi, some of these characters are not the same characters, and it's not just Luke Skywalker. It's Finn, and it's Poe. They were both reset. And to an extent, Rey was reset. Even Rey was rebooted. Because if further to your point about Maz Kanata telling Rey that her parents were not important, why was she so focused in The Last Jedi on her parents again? So, again, all of your points here are just further defending Lucas's and Disney's talking points, and they've all been defeated so far. I don't know what you think. Again, I'm going to say it for a third time. I don't know where you get your delusions, Laser Brain, but I don't know why you think they're going to work now, because we've already shot through them so many times. All your talking points and all your defenses. And I'm definitely with the majority of the hardcore fan base that was subverted a little too hard, in that they're not going to further support this franchise and these movies until it's fixed, until Lucasfilm apologizes and fix what's wrong, because there's no way I'm going to continue to pay for this. There's just no way I'm going to spend money on this. Anyways, on with the article. On a basic level, Star Wars The Last Jedi was a sequel to The Force Awakens, but just as Star Wars 7 was a sequel to Return of the Jedi, start of a new trilogy and legacy quel reboot, so too was its follow-up, doing more than just continuing the story. The Last Jedi takes characters we've known for multiple years, multiple movies, and evolves them. Luke is a tortured figure, and when we meet him 35 years later, Leia is able to tap into the Force in a moment of mortal threat. Kylo Ren is more confused than all evil after killing his father, and Rey's parents really aren't important. These are big topics that go against previous understandings, and the themes are just as unexpected. Oh, here we go. He's a Last Jedi fan. Don't start on me with the themes. Please don't get into the themes. Because the story is so weak and the characters are so weak. You're just grasping at straws and you're making up defenses for Rian Johnson's poor screenwriting abilities. Failure as a teacher. There it is. There it is. He's a Last Jedi fan, so you're pro Last Jedi. So you're not... Oh my God, failure as a teacher. Well, if failure is a teacher, I hope they learn from it in episode 9, because you're going to have the exact same result in North America, and especially in China. Like, they don't buy it. I looked that up when it bombed out of China. I think the term is called baisu, in terms of it, they don't buy social justice over China at all. Like, I just heard the other day, to go off on a different tangent in a different direction. The Predator, that movie that bombed here, and I've talked about it in many of my videos as being terrible, and it was effing terrible. It was huge. Apparently it opened last week in China, and it made a ton of money. I don't know why. Maybe because it has a lot of explosions. But yeah, they didn't like The Last Jedi, and if episode 9 continues the same arc and the same like agenda-driven politics being like parlayed into the script and through the characters, you're going to have the same exact result as The Last Jedi, if not worse. Because let's go with trends again, where I touched on the original trilogy. Look at the box office totals from A New Hope, the original Star Wars, and I don't even have it up in front of me because I don't need it, and The Empire Strikes Back, to the Return of the Jedi. They all went down a little bit. Same with Revenge of the Sith. That one, I'm not 100% sure with. I'm pretty sure Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith were close, but as for the original trilogy, I'm almost certain they all trickled down. There was a trickle-down effect, because eventually, like, you start to get blasé, like, the general audience isn't going to just continue to go see, because like it's a thing for a while, and then like you want to go. You know who's going to keep going? The hardcore fan base. Because I was old enough. It was actually a birthday party I went to. I'm pretty sure I want to say I was 6 when, or yeah, I'm pretty sure I was 6 when Return of the Jedi came out, or maybe 7, but closer to 6. Birthday party, and I was losing my ass. I was losing my ass when I went to see that. But after that, it was big in the theater, but it wasn't as big as the first 2 movies, because it was more of a spectacle. And you can expect the same thing to happen in episode 9. There's going to be that trickle-down effect. The box office is going to get a little bit smaller. And if you force away the hardcore fan base as much as you are, it's going to get a lot smaller. Anyways, back to the article. Learning from the past while moving beyond it. And on a more intimate scale, Star Wars is not just about the Skywalkers. Whoever said it was? Whoever said it was? Like, again, you're defending it. Do you know what I would love to see? I'd love to see an Old Republic movie. And do you know what the first thing Lucasfilm did when they took control of it? They said the Old Republic and Coder, and said the Old Republic was not canon. They said, this is no longer canon. Because you know why? Because they're going to ape and poach from it, just like they've done from the original trilogy. Because these are not original trilogy sequels. They're just stepping stones to build their own movies on top of it. And you can expect more of the same in episode 9. And you can expect more in any of the offshoot trilogies that are coming. You can expect a lot of stuff to be poached from Knights of the Old Republic. It's coming. So any fans of Coder and the Old Republic, hold your breath, hold your beer, because I guarantee you that same thing is coming. They're just going to poach and they're going to ape and they're not going to do the due diligence and show it the respect it deserves, just like they did to the original characters in these two movies so far. And they're going to do the same thing in the third one. Unless they pull a 180 and they totally wake up and JJ treats Lando with the respect he's due, we'll see. We'll see. He'll probably help save it in the end. He'll probably help save at the end, but I think he will die because Lando blew up the second Death Star. So he's going to do something to help. There's probably going to be a second Star Killer, but I guarantee you it'll be something like that. He'll be used as a stepping stone. It may be in a more positive fashion than Luke was and then Han was, the broken down old smuggler. But you can expect more of the same from Disney and from these creators, especially with JJ, from what I've seen from JJ Abrams so far. At least Rian Johnson's no longer involved. Thank the baby J. Anyways, it's not hard to see where these are challenging ideas for Star Wars. The two previous Disney era films had been a spiritual remake of A New Beginning and War is Hell, evoking of original trilogy aesthetic. They were firmly in the Star Wars ballpark. The last time Star Wars truly deviated from expectations was when Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, slowed the pace, provided political backstory, and explained the Force. We've had explanations of the Force. The political backstory, I agree with you there. That was unnecessary. There was a little too much. They could have touched on it a bit, but there was a little too much of the political side in The Phantom Menace. But we've had Force explanations before. And the original trilogy had those moments, the slow-paced moments where everything gets quiet and the characters just talk. Do you know what was missing in the two Disney films of the new trilogy so far? Moments where they slow down and just talk. That was gone. It was gone. Because you couldn't show Luke imparting wisdom to Rey because she's already all-powerful and you don't want to show any weakness in her, so there's not going to be anything of Rey showing that, and the other characters really didn't have any connection. That's the only connection we've seen so far, other than the weird Reylo thing. But in terms of peers, I mean, the only connection we've seen so far is Luke talking to Rey, and you couldn't show any weakness in Rey, so there was never a moment where they slowed it down and talked, other than maybe the breathe, but even then, she went on and did like super powerful things just at the mention of Luke's words. But I digress. Back. Again, you missed the point there. I agree, political backstory, but we've had the Force explained. We've had the Force explained by Yoda. We had the Force explained by Obi-Wan. There, it was also held back by wooden dialogue and weak filmmaking. So cliched jokes and even weaker filmmaking in The Last Jedi made up for that. Like, the wooden dialogue, I agree, but weak filmmaking? The Phantom Menace wasn't that bad of a movie. Like, even back then I said that. It wasn't that bad, other than Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar Binks, that killed the movie. But there were some things in it, and maybe midichlorians, but back to the article. But it's still, like, that's something that came out shortly after The Last Jedi Backlash started up, that the prequel lovers came out in full force and people started revisiting the prequels, and I did that myself, and I'm definitely on board with that. In comparison, the prequels look like way better films compared to what we've got so far from Disney. And the fact that Jar Jar Binks is now no longer the most hated character, if that doesn't drive a point home to Disney, other than saying that we're all man babies, we're all crying man babies filled with toxic masculinity, like, you could have made much better characters. That's all you needed to do. But instead, we got Rose Tico added, and she is now easily the worst Star Wars character ever. And that's not me saying that because she's female, and that's not me saying that because she's a visible minority, because I have a question regarding that, because I've been called a man baby because of this, and I've read all the things about and all the tweets about toxic masculinity and people that are involved with Star Wars and Lucasfilms drinking fanboys' tears from their coffee mug. I have one question regarding that. Why are the two visible minorities the maintenance and the janitor characters? And why aren't they the Jedi? Why aren't they the ones learning the Force? Why are they the maintenance characters? If these movies are about promoting diversity, is what I keep hearing from people when they're spewing these things about toxic masculinity and drinking fanboys' tears, why are those two characters the maintenance characters and the weakest characters in the film? All right. I'm just going to leave that there and move on. All right. Yet Star Wars The Last Jedi's marketing did nothing to prep people for what was coming beyond promising a ride that was more of the same. The most the trailers did were include choice quotes like Luke's, "This is not going to go the way you think," or Kylo's, "Let the past die, kill it if you have to." There you go. There's the quote about JJ and Ryan more so just giving the OT, who's a self-described huge Star Wars fan, giving the OT the biggest middle finger you could probably give. Which is frankly not enough to work against those theorizing Snoke is Darth Plagueis or other madcap irrelevancies. See, that might happen. I've heard that. I've heard those whisperings that Snoke is going to get retconned and he's actually Darth Plagueis and he's not going to be dead. But I don't know how you're going to make that work when you had Snoke lying on the floor of his throne room with his tongue sticking out. Don't really get that, but I've heard that argument. I don't know. You'd have to completely retcon a lot of The Last Jedi. We know Luke's going to be there. He's going to be a Force ghost. Snoke's death is the best movie twist in years. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, he was built up to be this huge thing. And if you wanted to kill him, wait till the third movie, just like the Emperor was. Why not follow formula? Because what are you going to do in the next movie? Now it's going to be Grey Jedi against Grey Jedi. It's going to be Reylo, Kylo Ren, and Rey teaming up. They're not really that much different. We're two talking points of the same aspect. Anyways, this undoubtedly made everything more affronting. Luke's personality shift was bigger, the jokes more extreme, the deaths more shocking, and with that comes a bigger backlash. It's easy to point at Star Wars The Last Jedi itself as being the root of all these problems, but it's really all the build-up. And we can see that best when comparing to Disney's other major franchises. I'm not going to continue on. I'm going to end it there, but this article was a complete schlock and just trying to defend. Like I said, it's getting tiresome. We've already defeated all these arguments. We've already disproved all of them. Luke's personality shift was bigger. He was a completely different character. When the actor comes out and says, I had to play the role like it wasn't Luke Skywalker, like I had to be Jake Skywalker, and then he was hit with NDAs to shut up. He was totally hit with the NDAs, were totally enforced, and that's why he went quiet, because he was raging about it on Twitter and ranting about it, and then all of a sudden he got quiet because Disney and Lucasfilm came to him and said, hey, you need to stop talking about this, or bam, NDAs are coming into effect. Simple as that. Anyways, like I said, just wanted to sit down, do an article, got pretty long. Hope you enjoy the video. If you did enjoy it, give me a like or give me a sub. I'd love you for both, or love you for either, that is. And while you're at it, feel free to comment on the video, and let me know what you think about this latest excuse from Disney and Lucasfilms in terms of the trailer being the problem, and what you thought about the Russian bots in October, and where you think it's going to go to in December in the coming months leading up to more Episode 9 build, because you know another excuse is coming. So let's see what the logical progression would be. If you have any ideas, shout it out. Like I said, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.